Welcome to another episode of Epigram. Today we have Ryan Piper. Is that right?
It is.
So I officially met him once in Virginia Tech when I was studying there. He was also studying there. Now he's teaching there. He's a product designer and a furniture designer here in DC. So I don't know. Do you wanna tell us how you started, or?
I'd never studied at the WEC actually.
I saw that.
No, I started off as a shop technician and sweeping the floors and making sure that the bandsaw blades were sharp, that sort of thing. And I left after a few years to go to grad school. I came back once I graduated, and there was a position there for me, so I've been in there ever since 2013.
And you're taking care of the shop now and teaching?
Yes, my current responsibilities are shop manager and design build and furniture instructor. So I teach all the making classes that we have there.
Which are great classes also. But tell us more about what you do. You have the Ryan Piper Studio.
Correct.
Where you design your own products, furniture.
Sure.
So tell us, how did you start that? When did it start?
Gosh, I guess officially it started once I graduated from my undergrad in 2004. And I've dabbled with commission pieces and exploring my own interests, self-initiated projects, and sometimes putting things into what I call low-run production. I enjoy having my hand in every aspect of developing a product and taking it to the consumer. Maybe it's just a control issue, I don't know. But
well, you need to make sure everything is the
right.
way you want it and all the details, I guess.
Right.
What was your first product that you started more for serious production, or?
Goodness. I mean, I have a lot that are not on my website, and I should create an archive section. But I think my first serious piece was an acrylic chair that was made out of one piece of 4x8 3/4 inch plexiglass.
Okay.
And it was quite a bear to produce, so it's still in prototype form. There's only one.
There's only one.
Yeah.
I'm sure later on that will be the mass production as well.
Maybe.
So I have seen some products of you. You have some lamps also. You have like a quite big variety of products. It's not that you are, okay, I'm just doing one type of furniture. It's
right.
So how does that work too?
I guess it's whatever I'm interested in at the moment. I try to make each project different from the next. And I like to try to incorporate a new material that I'm unfamiliar with. So I research it and educate myself the best way I can before I start using it. And that way I keep challenging myself, a little bit with each next design.
So would you say that the key for you is like just materials in a way, or?
There's materials, function. A lot of it has to do with manufacturing processes as well.
Okay.
I'd like to try to use a new tool the next time I design something. Otherwise, everything will end up looking the same.
Yes. I like how you take everything, a new product, as like a complete new learning experience as well, no? Just new materials, new manufacturers, new, maybe even to the group you are selling the products or the customer you are targeting it. That's great.
I don't work for I'm not beholden to any large manufacturer who requires me to make certain things or fit within certain range, if you will. So I'm able to have complete control over everything I do, which is, it's nice. It doesn't pay me very much, but I think I like the control of my work versus being sort of stuck doing the same thing over and over again for the sake of profit. So.
And what is your creative process? Okay, we said already that you go for new materials, all this new stuff, but how do you start designing a project or a product?
All of my projects start off on a Post-it note. Okay, that's my technique. And I have little Post-it note pads all throughout my office and at my house as well, especially right by the bedside, with a pen, of course. And I find that inspiration or ideas will hit you at different times, and you need to have those nearby so you can write it down. And in my office, once I get something sketched out, I just throw it on the wall and go back to whatever it was I was doing. Because sometimes these ideas pop in your head, or in my head at totally random times, and I need to be prepared. Sometimes I'll wake up, believe it or not, and there's, I don't know, 5 Post-it notes stuck to my, not ceiling, but behind my bed. And I sometimes have to decipher it because it was written at 3 in the morning, and there's. But awesome. I gotta make sure that I get it on paper.
That's great. So sometimes you wake up 7 a.m., 8 a.m., whatever time, with these brand new ideas that you just like almost awake, almost asleep.
Yeah,
that's good.
Well, I'm often turning over an idea in my head throughout the day. And every now and then I'll come up with a solution or a new option, if you will, and I got to get it down on paper. So once I have quite a collection of these Post-it notes, I sort of digest them and weed out the impractical ones. I still keep them. I keep everything. And it's really fun to revisit these at the end of a project to see, start to finish. But design is, in my opinion, sort of like a funnel.
Yeah.
Where you really want to make sure that you get everything out there from the beginning, even if it's ludicrous, and then you sort of dwindle it down to your final idea or what you're going to go with. And you have to make a decision eventually. Otherwise, we'd just be designing for
forever.
Right? So deadlines are good.
And how do you manage, after all this creative process of having the sketches and narrowing the ideas, then how is the process for you? Like, you start prototyping yourself, you have someone that can help you with the prototype. What are the steps, or how do you manage until the very end final product?
So after I have my Post-it note sketches, I'll put it in AutoCAD, and I'll also due to years of experience, I have a feeling of how these things are going to be made. So I understand how thick material needs to be in certain locations and so on. I do my best to figure that out in AutoCAD. But I'll also make a massing model out of inexpensive material like PVC and plywood, spray can, rattle can, paint it up, and allow me to just walk around it in the space, in the shop, to get a real feel before I invest more money in the actual materials. I just made a table, a marble top table that the top piece of marble was about $1,300, and it'd be silly, I think, to place that order from an AutoCAD sketch to the factory. So I made a number of different massing models out of OSB to really dial in the dimensions first before I committed to that. As for prototyping, I try to do everything myself, and only in rare occasions when I don't have access to a particular tool, do I have to hire somebody else out? Like in the case of cutting the marble.
Mm-hmm. And then you come with the, I don't know, mock-up and then the final piece.
Mm-hmm.
And then how do you keep going from then? You have your final piece and then...
And then I could... that's where I need a... I guess I need to... I'm still figuring that part out. What's next? Marketing and the hype that follows that in order to pitch a project is not my strong suit, admittedly. I recall I recently developed some felt slippers, and I literally had
those
these...
are the sparrows?
The sparrow slippers,
I love those.
I had them in my trunk, and I was driving from the contract sewing outfit in North Carolina that sewed all the final versions up. And I made a few pit stops along the way back to D.C. at various boutiques and places that could possibly sell these things. And I learned really quickly that I do not have the salesman gene. You know, that's just not in my DNA. So I need some help with that, I suppose. And I'm hoping to meet someone that could perhaps,
push you in that direction.
Yeah, because I need to get a wider audience. It would be nice to get a wider audience. He agrees. So.
I found that interesting because I know you from before, and also knowing that you are more of a music guy or a musician, right, that you have performed and everything. It's like I would say that you are really good approaching this type of how to sell or how to showcase or just be up there saying like this is it.
Gosh, no.
But I guess our different departments.
Yeah. I love the process. I love being in the band room and jamming with the guys and writing material and dialing in the sound and recording it, mixing it. All of that I'm totally on board with. But the moment I have to take that demo tape to the club promoter and say, give this a listen, you're going to love us. I don't know if it's a matter of confidence or what, but I just, I don't enjoy doing that. It's just not something I could do. So more often than not, there's a lot of projects that are complete that are just sort of in the archive waiting to, be discovered. So I need to get on that. So.
Yeah, that's interesting how we have been talking to some young entrepreneur as well, and it's a journey, really, how you're learning or first focusing in the products you're doing, whichever it is, if it is furniture, if it is website, and then getting the confidence, and then until it's like the whole stuff,
Sure.
But for sure, it's like a curve, and then you are ready to kill everything in the market.
At the end of a project, though, I'm happy that it's over, but I'm anxious to move on to the next one. And because I guess I have little interest in promoting and I feel awkward about trying to hype this stuff up and shop it around, I file it away and I move on to the next project because it's the early design and conceptual and prototyping and final production, which I'm in love with. So yeah, I'm constantly skipping to the next one once it's in the bag.
You're like full creator, let's say.
Yeah.
It's just like creation, finishing, okay, the next one.
Exactly.
But that's good. We're going to display or show the links and everything so everyone could see all your products.
Okay.
And I'm sure someone would maybe even contact you to start selling your stuff.
Why not?
That would be great. And then tell me more. I know I have seen the lamp you have done. That was a huge piece and also technology inside.
Yeah, the swing lamp.
Yes. What is the name again?
Swing lamp.
Okay.
Okay, so the swing lamp was something I developed in my final year of grad school, and it was exhibited, a version of it was exhibited in my graduation show, my thesis show. And I realized that I had created something that wasn't on the market yet, or anything like it. terms of its ability to dim and how you control it. So I quickly set forth to having it protected with a patent, and that was about a good 3-4 year process
to get the patent.
Right.
Wow.
Dealing with the lawyers and coming up with the drawings and the language, but it officially happened this year in June.
Congrats!
So, thanks.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's really, really good.
So now the next thing is to make more of them and find an avenue for them. So that's likely the next project on the horizon, where I'm going to come up with different swing lamps. The one that you're familiar with is mounted to the wall, but I'd love to do them at different scales, where there's a floor lamp, maybe a tabletop version, a chandelier version.
Wow, that's good.
So
that's great. And then you have like a lot of the same product with different intentions, not intentions, but a series. I like that. That's very. I love that product. You have to see it. It's really good. So we were just saying how many different products you have, and also the selling part of it. But how do you get the money to start those products? I know you have done some of the one of the previous campaign for the Sparrows was in Kickstarter.
Right.
How does that work? Tell us a bit more about that platform. And
well, Kickstarter is a crowdsourcing platform where you essentially operate by generating a lot of pre-orders. And you set a goal, and a monetary goal, and you try to estimate how much it will cost to put your whatever it is you're selling into production, and you need X amount of dollars to get the wheels turning. And I did that recently with the slippers. It was a learning experience for sure. I would do a lot of things differently, but in terms of advice, I would highly suggest people coming up with a plan B and a plan C even for how to produce their objects. Because I learned the hard way by having my initial manufacturer back out of the deal. This is after we had an agreement, and after the Kickstarter had ended, and I showed up to his door basically with a $6,000 check, and I was like, let's make some slippers, and they flaked on me. And thankfully, I had a backup plan, and I was able to produce them eventually. But it added more time, and I had to go through different vendors. So the slippers, ideally it would be done all under the same roof. That was the original plan. But at the end,
everything made in the U.S.
Yes,
well?
and that still was. It was still made within the United States. But everything was supposed to be sourced in the same location. But at the end of the day, what ended up really happening was the leather came from Colorado, the felt was from Michigan, everything was cut out in Texas, and then sewn in North Carolina,
wow,
and then shipped out in Virginia. And that's a lot of shipping. That's a lot of freight. So that ate up a lot of the cost. And I did calculate for that, but it did cut into my profit and money that I would have spent on marketing and so on. So it was a lesson. I didn't lose my shirt off of it. But if I were to do it again, I may even have contracts signed, perhaps, if it's possible to do that.
In advance.
Contingent of, making X amount of dollars on Kickstarter, you agreed to produce,
this and that.
This
yeah.
and that. Yeah. Who knows if that will work? But
I understand you completely when you say like it was adding to the cost. It was like maybe it was shipping here or there. For us with our art installations, the first one we did, it was like such a learning curve and a learning process, and we were there with a budget and everything. And by the end, it's like, okay, this has changed,
Yep.
and you're like, okay, this is it.
Yep.
It worked out well, good, but then like the second time we did it, if it is maybe the same product or in the same line you are working as the lamps, then was so much smoother and everything worked out. You know, you learn. It's like it's good to keep it on the same terms or in the same type of projects or stuff like that. So
it's a challenge. You have to stay flexible throughout the process because it's not ever going to turn out exactly as you had planned from the get-go.
Yes.
And that's okay. Once you accept that, I think things will move smoother. But at the same time, you need to learn where to stand firm, and you need to have your demands met in certain aspects, and that's also part of the learning experience, is to know when things shouldn't be flexible, when things otherwise the project takes on a whole new life and spins out of control. You got to have an anchor or root, a set of rules that you have to try and abide by.
So, for instance, do you have those rules for all of your projects? Is that something in the process for each product that you have, or
the rules sort of, at least with me, become established early on in the concept phase. But there's some constant rules that I've been finding with my work. One is I don't like using off-the-shelf hardware, going down to Ace or Home Depot or whatever and getting some screws. And two, I think. So wait a minute, let me back it up. You obviously have to join materials, and screws and nuts and bolts are usually a requirement for assembling things. But there's ways around it, and there's ways where you can make them yourself. They don't all have to look like all the ones we're quite familiar with. And the other rule, I suppose, that happens a lot would be that the furniture or product needs to look good from all angles.
Yeah.
Make something good for the mice to look at too. It's so often that when you lift something up and look on the underside of it, it's held together in a very precarious way, or it's just ugly. And I'd say 99% of all the furniture that exists in the world has skirts and covers that are hiding the mechanics that are keeping it together. And to me, the mechanics that keep it together is an interesting component and should be brought to the forefront. So to me, I don't like to hide those things. It provides an extra layer of challenge, but it's something I don't back down from. And that to me is a pretty hard rule, I think.
I love it because that shows the passion and the passion on the details that you have, just designing every piece, every component, how to join the screw and everything. That's true design, and like in every sense, I think that's people who appreciate design, that's what we love the most, it's like exactly that. So that's amazing you can get it up to that point.
It's hard. It takes a heck of a lot of time. Projects will take twice as long because of that, but I sleep better at night. I mean, it's a priority for me. I know not everybody is fascinated with those things, but for me, in order for me to put my name on it, if you will, it needs to meet those requirements.
Yeah, it's the quality standard.
Yeah.
The PIEPER quality standard.
Right. If I make one and that's the end of it, or if I make 100 or 100,000, who knows? I've never sold 100,000 of anything, but to me, it needs to have meet those requirements.
So. Well, that's great. So
I encourage your audience to try that, to come up with some rules that you don't want to bend or break. I think that's important because nobody likes to have a project. At the end of the day, they sort of just rush it and finalize it, and like they don't even want to look at it. You know, it's because you probably gave in on something. But it's hard to do that. That's part of the challenge. But that's my advice.
Okay, I'm sure we will see also now that when the audience gets to see all your projects and everything, or your products, the quality we are talking about here, because I have seen them. I know it's very neat and exclusive, really, the design that you do, and every piece of product, it's exactly like that. It's very exclusive and very high end. So for the audience, please check the links and see what he's coming with and what he has done already, which is, again, very, very great and admirable from my end. And for you, thank you very much for being here. And
thank you. I really appreciate the opportunity to sit down and rap with you guys. And as always, thank you, Epigram.
Thank you, Ryan. Cheers with water, but just like here.
Okay.